All righty. Thank you so much. All right, it's Monday. This morning we're talking marriage and marriage counseling with Dr. Chuck Hannaford. And good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Good to see you. I'm doing great.
Good.
First of all, a lot of folks have asked about this, so let's find out the difference between regular marriage counseling and Christian counseling, because that's what you guys do at Heartlight Professional Soul Care. What is the difference? Well,
we could take a long time going into this. I think basically what you have to understand is regular counseling with a lot of the theoretical approaches, and there are over 100 different ways that people view man and his problems, none of which really agree with one another from what we would call a secular approach. So you have all of these competing theoretical approaches that people use. Now, at the center of that, it's basically in the culture in which we live now, which is postmodern. People tend to feel there is no objective truth or reality. So whatever I feel like is right for me, independent of how it impacts you, is okay. So your regular marriage counseling, a lot of people will say, well, if you're unhappy, get a divorce. Now, let's switch tracks. From a Christian perspective, we view man from a biblical anthropology, which is to say that we're born with this corruption we call sin, which affects our thinking, our physical beings. And we operate from a biblical perspective, which is that God is a God of redemption and reconciliation. So on the first order, what we want to do is try to reconcile and redeem. And the objective truth biblically is that there is one cure for the problems of the soul, which is Christ, and that all of the people in the church with a capital C, in all the churches, are to care for the people. We're to care for one another. So what the contrast is that from a worldly perspective, its independence is good. From a Christian perspective, interdependence is good.
Sounds like to me, in a nutshell, because we have some questions, Christian counseling maybe, let's fix it.
Let's fix it. Let's fix our own hearts. Let's look at our own responsibility.
The other, maybe not so much. Okay. Veronica in Whitehaven, if her husband, this sounds rough. Her husband's on the phone talking to an old girlfriend. Apparently happens a lot. She comes in the room, he gets off the phone. Should she be concerned? And here's what you need to know. She's confronted him. He says, hey, nothing's going on. The ex just got married and lives 900 miles away, but he's still talking to her on the phone.
Well, here's the deal. Veronica, we need to set some good boundaries here. If he gets off the phone if she gets off the phone when she walks in the room, then something's going on.
He feels guilty about something.
Well, he feels guilty, or he's trying to cover something up. So there's an old saying, listen to the words, trust the behavior. So the words may say one thing, but his actions say something else. So if he's getting off the phone, there's something he's covering up. And is it inappropriate? Yeah, if she feels uncomfortable in the relationship, it's inappropriate.
To get on the phone, hey, Veronica, or whatever the lady's name is. Hey, what's going on? All right. Louise in North Memphis, she and her partner have changed over the years. This happens a lot. They've grown apart because of children and other circumstances. How can they find their way back to each other?
Well, Louise, one of the things that you have to do is you have to revisit the reasons that you and your husband got together in the first place. You have to cultivate the marriage. You have to begin to create rituals within the context of the marriage where you and your husband do things together. It's very important. A lot of times we have a child-centered marriage where the children, because of all the activities, we just find ourselves running around to get
revolving around them.
Exactly. And so marriage is like a garden. If you don't cultivate it and fertilize it, the weeds grow up and choke out the life. So we've got to weed the garden and get back and spend some time cultivating it.
Okay. Now, this is something. Donnell, bless your heart, got married a few days ago and is ready to call it quits. Donnell wants to know, should he get a divorce or an annulment?
My first question would be, you didn't look into this very closely before you did it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be having these feelings. You should have known each other a little bit better. And I would say, let's not get a divorce or an annulment. Let's deal with what it is that's causing her to want to get out. And I bet you there's probably some history there. Yeah.
My question is that your real name? All right, LaToya in Fraser. She's caught her husband watching X-rated stuff on the computer and buying this pay-per-view adult movies from the satellite company. And he wants to use these movies as aids in the bedroom. She says, hey, I don't need that stuff.
Yeah.
How could she get them off of this stuff?
Boy, we could spend a whole segment talking about pornography and the destructive impact it's having on marriages, but absolutely it is not okay. A lot of people say that some involvement with porn and X-rated stuff is all right, but it isn't okay. It is very destructive, and there is a shame-guilt cycle that goes into it for the guy, which causes independence from his wife and creates a lot of unrealistic expectations sexually. No woman can live up to the fantasy that is created by repeatedly watching these things, and so the sexual interaction becomes more deviant over time. We need to talk about this. This is a big deal, destroying marriages.
So, LaToya, you probably need to call Heart Life Professional Counseling, and here's the number, 756-5788, because sounds like you may have some tough problems.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
All right. We're out of time. Dr. Chuck Hannaford, thank you so much for joining us. Good to see you this morning.
Pleasure. Thank you.
All right. We will be right back.